Brought to you by
Round like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind.
Visit StogieGeeks.com/Debonaire for a list of retailers who carry Debonaire cigars. Buy some today and get a little more Debonaire. Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geeks Show. We're here today on our Debonaire Ideal segment for this evening to talk about vintage cigars. We're smoking a vintage cigar,
Yes, we
which is
are.
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Will, I know you have a lot of vintage cigars in your humidor. Big Pete gifted us a vintage cigar
Yes, he did.
as well. It's got to be 15 years old, the one that Pete
Oh,
gave us,
yeah.
a Paul Camarian, and it's just, it's really good. So how does one, I want to start this segment by kind of throwing it out there, like how does one come to acquire vintage cigars? Because not all of us have a time machine. I'm working on that, working on it. If you had one, right, that'd be awesome because you could bring back vintage cigars.
Yeah.
But not everyone has a time machine. So, like, what do you do? I mean, you can take cigars and put them away, but to truly become vintage, I'll pose this question. What's the magic age for a cigar before you start using the term vintage?
I think really like anything older in the cigar business, at least, because it is a product that, if not stored properly, it sort of disintegrates.
And it's already aged when you get it.
I think like 7 years.
You think 7? I was going to say 5. 5 seemed a little young for me.
Yeah, because there's a lot of cigars that you can buy in shelves right now that a retailer just might have not moved through or something like that are probably 5 years old. You could find one in almost any humidor.
0 to 5, I mean, when you get into 3, 4, 5 years old, there's some significant changes that happen.
Yeah.
And I think for me, 5, like once you get over 5, for me, it kind of turns vintage from that point.
Yeah.
And 7's not too far off from that. So, Will, what do you think?
I think that 5 years, that 3 to 5 years, when the magic window kind of happens. You know, I recently just uncovered some Liga Privada T52s that they've got to be from 2009. And they were just at the bottom of the humidor, and
We're coming over. We'll be right there.
that oily, that oily wrapper is bleeding onto that Liga Privada band right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually showed Sam Morales from Drew Estate. He had actually saw a picture I had posted of one of those. And he's like, "You got to smoke that and tell us about it." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. Except I'm like, I almost don't want to.
You don't want to. I know.
Because then I'm gonna have,
That's
I'm gonna have
what
one
kills
less.
me all
I'm gonna
the
have
time.
one less. Yeah.
That's what kills me about vintage cigars that I feel like the ones that I acquire, because I did buy some vintage Opus X.
Yeah.
And I bought it. I started smoking it because I don't feel as much of an emotional attachment because I just paid money for these cigars. And I'm like, damn it, I'm going to friggin' smoke them. Like, I just bought them. I'm going to smoke them, you know? But when you age something in your own humidor, I feel like, and this is really bizarre, you feel an emotional attachment to the cigar.
Yeah, like you don't want to open your
It's
humidor
just so
and not see
nerdy.
it.
Yeah.
But
But you're
you-
like, yeah, I don't want to smoke it.
Yeah, you've kind of like nurtured it.
Right.
You know, you've taken the time.
It's like it's your
to take
baby.
Right. You've taken care of this.
You're even
thing.
making baby hands, Will.
Right.
You're making baby hands.
I have no cigar in my hand. I gotta do something.
What do I do with my hands?
Yeah, exactly.
I got to practice that because we're having a baby.
A baby hand.
June 11th, we're having
Well,
our
I would
third
hope you would
boy.
already be
That's it.
comfortable with it.
I'm
You have two
very
other
comfortable with the whole baby diaper changing,
Yeah.
nurturing
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I'm all done with that.
Yeah.
I'm just old now.
Oh. My kids are they're hilarious. And yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of cigar parallels with your children.
Potty training is a whole other level, man, let me tell you.
That's some A tier parent.
Number 1 is cool with my 3-year-old. Number 2, totally different story. Daddy,
It's
can
a
I
disaster.
have a diaper? Like, come on, please go on the toilet. Daddy, I want a diaper. And then
If you're articulate enough to ask for a diaper, you should be going in the toilet.
Bingo. But then I walk back into the living room and he's like pointing at me. He's like, Daddy, go back in the kitchen. I'm like, and I do it, right? Go back in the kitchen to my wife. I'm like, Dean just told me to come back in here because he's pooping. And she's like, and you listen to him? I'm like, well, yeah. I guess I did, right?
If I was pooping in public, I would want my privacy as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
I joke with
sympathize
my
with
wife. I'm like, my day job is CEO. Like, when I get home, I'm like janitorial, like lowest
Junior level
operations
assistant.
person. Yeah, it's a very big adjustment. My whole commute home, I have to mentally prepare myself for the demotion that I have when I go home.
Yeah, that's a long way to fall.
To relate it back to this segment, though, sometimes
How did we get there? I don't know.
I don't know how we got. I was way off on a tangent there, out of control. Thank you for reeling the reins in on me. Although I did it to myself. But
Yeah.
But I'll go home and go to my humidor, and I'm like, Daddy needs to spend some time with his humidor, and just kind of go through, look what you have. Spending the time to label things, I think, is something that I want to bring into this segment as well.
Yeah.
Other than my child's potty training, but labeling is important, and I have like mixed success with this. Like, sometimes I'm really good about labeling, and other times I pick up a cigar and I'm like, yeah, well, this could be 2 years old, this could be 7 years old. I don't know. Maybe I'll smoke one and see how
See
it's
how
smoking.
it's smoking, yeah.
Now, Cuban cigars are great for this,
Yes.
because if you save the original, boxes, has a date on them, which is great. Phil Zanke puts the date in the inside of his bands in his Debonaire line, which is friggin' great. A certain percentage, and Will and Jared, I don't know what you feel about, like, what percentage of limited editions have the year on them. I think more frequently you find the year on, like, I know Carrillo started doing that, LFD started doing that, the years on the band. Love that, because I don't have to be so anal about labeling all the stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Regular production opus, I'm pretty good about putting that in a Ziploc bag and writing with a Sharpie on it, like what year month and year that I got it, which has really helped, because I'm kind of at a point now where I can go to my humidor, I can get stuff that's over 4 years old, and I know that I'm smoking over 4-year-old opus in my humidor, which is nice.
Yeah.
And there are other visual indicators. If the band has white on it, like even this Christoph band, right, like has white on it, like that may.
Yeah.
It could. I mean, typically it's got to be a little closer to the tobacco. Like you were saying, Will, that T52, like the oils from the wrapper kind of bleed onto the band.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's an indication. The color of the cellophane is another indication for me. I'll take the cellophane off and I'll put it up against something that's like solid white, and that's an indication of like how well aged that it is. But my advice to our listeners is to be, was that white at one time?
Yeah, that's.
I see. This is what came in our Christoph cigar that we're smoking.
Yeah, that's what we wrapped it in, and you could see that it took all the oil and
It did.
everything like that.
I thought that was what color it was supposed to be. Okay.
Right.
But my advice to the listeners is to be a little more anal about than I am with dating your cigars when you put them in the humidor. As your collection grows and matures over time, you're going to be thankful that you did that in the beginning.
Yeah.
And for those who are like Viaje fans,
Viaje's tough.
Viaje is very tough because they don't. And when we have Andre back on, I want to ask him about the possibility of if we consider putting the year band on it, because his line is his whole brand is built on the vintage limited vintages, but coming back out with those. And
well, we talked about his Candela a couple of weeks ago, Will.
Right.
We had a debate because I wasn't diligent enough, and it's my fault. I wasn't diligent enough to like label that. And you can get cigar bands as well, which I think is a great recommendation. You can buy blank ones, and it's just like a little sticker, and write the month and year on it. Yeah. But I wasn't diligent enough, so I had this Candela. And I was like, wow, that was really good. And because it was the same size, like a couple of the years was the same size, I just kind of had to go on wrapper color because the different years had a slightly different wrapper color. Yep. And Will and I kind of had to make an educated guess as to which year it was. Yeah. It was still really good, though. But
Yep. But I mean, there's definitely a lot of fun you can have with some of those, year-to-year vintage, vintages with those, comparing and contrasting them as well.
Now, in the wine industry, the year's usually on the bottle, right?
Almost
always, right?
Yeah.
The year is on the bottle, on the label.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the year of the vintage, yeah.
I want to put
Same
the
thing with scotches. It tells you the bottle,
12
when
year,
it was
14
bottled.
year, 20 year, and it tells
yeah.
you when it's bottled and when it was distilled and then the whole thing, right?
Yep.
I want to say Andre does put years on the box on some of his boxes, though.
Okay.
I want to say that, yeah. Not all of them, but some of them.
It can be tough because we're not all buying full boxes of every cigar, right?
Exactly.
So we end up with singles, and in the cigar industry, I think more so than wine or scotch, it's left to us to keep track of that. And I kind of want to put the call out to cigar manufacturers to put the year on it,
especially in limited edition stuff.
especially in limited editions. Yeah, and I feel like it's gotten better.
And it turns it almost into like a cult following.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you buy, like me, for example, one of the cigars that I'm like cultish with is the Camacho Liberty. From 2000,
Right. And you know exactly what year that came out. Yes, that's a good example.
From 2002 on, every year on the 4th of July,
Right.
me and a friend of mine smoked the previous year's Camacho Liberty, but I still have a 2002 and a 2003 or something like that in my humidor.
What's the Tatuaje one that he made kind of like from that one farm, and he made it kind of like wine? What was
La Verite.
La Verite. I want to say La Tellia, but it's La Verite.
He's got one coming out at the trade show this year.
I think it was Big Pete that posted a La Verite, and he's got the year clearly on the band, so you know what you're smoking.
That's
and
cool.
then what were the years on those? Were they 08 and 09?
Yep, and now this one's gonna be a 13.
He hasn't produced one in a while, right?
He hasn't produced one since the
08 and
Verite.
09.
Yep, but those were the vintages of the tobacco.
Of the tobacco, not when he released it, right?
Not when he released it, right?
But that's fine. At least you know what you're smoking.
Yeah.
Sharing with friends.
I don't share vintage cigars.
You gotta be. You say that though, but if you had someone that was into cigars as much as you were, you would be more inclined to share it.
Sure.
And I think that's the kind of general rule of thumb.
Yeah. If you have somebody that you know is going to appreciate
Yes.
it, you bring out something
And
killer.
appreciate that vintage
Exactly.
tobacco.
Like with these. Like,
awesome.
I wanted to share this with you guys, because this is such a fabulous cigar that is going to be gone,
I know, and we talked about lighting up another one, but this one is just
burning forever.
burning forever and
I said
pouring
that was
smoke.
a big cigar, and I'm looking at that on my screen. That's a big cigar.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying not to smoke it too fast. I think I took a little break to make some drinks and stuff, but
It's still smoking forever.
it is. And it's really good.
And it's not like it hasn't gone out. Like, it's
No,
been
it
perfect.
hasn't. No, I haven't had to make one touch. And I went over there and like made drinks and stuff.
When you came back and puffed right up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll get you one, Will, I promise.
Thank you.
Will, what are some of the coveted vintage cigars in your humidor?
I would still go back with a lot of my my Davidoffs. I mean, so I have some Millenniums in there that they've just been really accumulating some age. And I'll put under the Davidoffs. I have Avo LE10s that they're from.
I love that cigar.
They're from 2010.
Will does too. Yeah, he's got a good collection of them too.
Will,
in fact-
I went to smoke this year my last LE10. I was at Mystic with my girlfriend. We went out to a great restaurant in Mystic, Connecticut, and every time we go to this restaurant, I get to sit on the dock with her, and I smoke a cigar.
Mm-hmm.
And she smokes one of those little Davidoff Primeros,
Yeah.
the Nicaragua Primeros, and I brought an Avo LE10.
I'll bring
And
you one up when I come up there.
Please do, because at the end of this story, you'll realize why. I went to go put it in my mouth, and she went, "Jared, look at that boat," and hit my arm, and the thing fell into the ocean.
Oh my God!
And I'm like, oh. I wanted to dive, like take off my shirt and jump in. I was like, no. And I just watched it float down the canal. And I'm like, and Monica was like, Jared, that is the saddest I've ever seen you. And I've seen some of your family and friends die. And that is the saddest I've ever seen you. Is like when I dropped that cigar in Mystic, Connecticut. It was so sad. I was like, please, a seagull come and snatch it and drop it in my lap again. Please.
Dry it up.
I was making bird calls and porpoise calls. Like I was appealing to all aquatic wildlife. I was like, please knock this shit back into my hand. It was so bad.
Oh my God! I'm going to Mystic next Tuesday.
And fish.
And now I'm gonna have to. Now I'm gonna think of you.
Yeah.
We're going to Mystic Aquarium.
Yeah.
My son loves it there.
Go to S&P Oyster House.
What is it?
I love that
S&P
place.
Oyster House.
S&P Oyster House.
That's over
Right by the drawbridge.
by the drawbridge. Paul, that place is unbelievable. S&P.
Killer.
Gotcha.
Killer.
I'm on it. I don't know if I'll be able to have a cigar, but I may have a Primero. So I don't know if it's nice out. But
they have what do you call it? They have it's an oyster chowder, and I believe they put like
oyster stew.
It's oyster stew, but they have a sherry they put in there.
Yep.
Yeah, Paul, it's to kill. Trust me.
It's unbelievable.
I'll give you your money back if you don't like it.
I won't.
I'm gonna try and make that happen when we go out there next Tuesday.
Yeah, go.
Yeah. No, and I've taken my kids there because we used to vacation in Mystic a lot.
Yeah.
So that place has been around a long time.
Yeah, they're tremendous.
Yeah.
I love your vintage cigar story there, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, but I don't. I feel for you.
It's sad. I'm really
It
sad.
is.
No,
That was a really sad story.
But I have accumulated quite a bit of those. And here's the thing. I know they're 2010s.
Because it's on the band.
Well, it's on the band, yeah. So, absolutely. Those are just, and they're again ones that they're in my humidor, and I either want to share them or not smoke them. It's kind of, but those I'd say are, and then I have a couple of Padron 80s that I'm letting sit around.
Those can only get better. Those are tremendous.
We've talked though, Jared. Sometimes the Padrones don't get better with age, but I think that blend does.
Yeah, I think that blend will because it's a little bit fuller.
Yeah.
Flavored, I've got some stuff in my humidor. Like I have an old Bahia. I have two old Bahias, one with the orange band, the other one with the wide band with Tony Borhani's signature on it. Those are from like the 90s, and then I've got my
Bahia was hot 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
And then they had a hurricane took out their Costa Rican factory where the cigars were made, and they just kind of never really recovered from that.
Interesting.
I mean, there was a point. You go back to 2002, 2003. He was red hot.
Well, I remember because Mr. J. Zavana Smoke Shop was big in Bahia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And when I started shopping there in like 06, 07, 08, 09, it had kind of died off, but he still had a ton of, and he would like talk about like, yeah, these were primo back in the day.
He came back to the trade show, and it had to be 2011, maybe 12, and he had some new stuff, but it never took off. I don't know.
Lars Teton tried to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Lars Teton tried to do the same thing, and it just didn't work. I mean, I think unless you capitalize on that momentum when it is there, and just keep driving and keep getting it in guys' hands and establish yourself like Camacho did, like a lot of these companies did, it's very challenging to drop off the face of the earth and then come back and revitalize.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and one of the staples of vintage cigars have been Cuban cigars.
Oh, yeah?
And we can go all the way back to pre-embargo Cuban tobacco, which is still hot today. I mean, anyone comes out with anything pre-embargo, it's hot.
Oh, yeah. Like that was the story with the original Camacho Liberties.
Yes.
It was pre-embargo
We had
tobacco.
Christian on the show, and we asked him specifically to go into the backstory behind that. He said, yes, the early ones absolutely did. He talked about where he got it, what it was. And he actually said when he tried some of that tobacco, it was not very good. He didn't speak very highly of that tobacco, on its own. But he said when we put it in a blend, it was really good, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But vintage Cubans, I mean, they sell for huge money now.
Crazy
huge
dollars.
money.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty good. I mean, if you can get Cuban Puro, I mean, Cuban Puros today are really what you buy, right? Because no one. Some of the European releases do mix and have those, but for the most part, if you can get true Cuban cigars and age them, they age really well.
Yeah.
I have a couple of Bahiques aging from like when I
nice.
bought them. Yeah, because I split a box with someone when they came out. So I've got those. I got the BHK 56s in my humidor.
The 56 is a fabulous
I've never had a Bahique.
Really?
I've never had one.
I'll have to bring you up one.
They're really good.
They're really good.
I would like to try one.
Yeah. I don't know how this. I have to smoke one, see how they are, but I could bring you one up of those too.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, they're really good. Bring me one too, Will.
Well, it's just one of those ones I've never like spent the
And that's
effort
one
and
with
money
so
to.
much hype around it
Yes.
too that it's like you should smoke it.
But when that cigar came out in 2000 and won that cigar of the year, I thought it was a worthy pick.
Yeah, it was great.
It was a great pick that year.
So what else on vintage?
We didn't talk about any vintage Fuentes.
Oh,
that's my
oh,
speed right there.
boy. So I bought.
Yeah.
I have a 2008 and a 2009. I think it was 08 and 09. The Opus X Cigar Family Charitable Foundation CF boxes from 08 and 09.
Yeah.
And I bought them not in 08 and 09, like a couple of years later. Like I found people who had the oldest ones and I went and bought.
Yeah.
And those were like, well, back when I bought them, they were $800 or $900 a piece. I think today, no matter what CF box you're getting, whether it's the new ones or older ones, they're above $1,000 or $1,200 or more.
Yep.
So I actually got a deal. If you say that $40 a cigar is a deal.
Yeah.
And I smoked them all at different points. I reviewed a ton of them on the show. And I would say they're hit or miss, but when they hit, like they're on.
Yeah.
It almost makes up for itself that when you smoke a $40 coffin cigar that's vintage, and sometimes I'm like, that was okay.
Yeah.
Other times I'm like, holy crap, that was really awesome.
Like I spent
enjoyed
money well spent.
I enjoyed I would have paid $100 for that one cigar because it was so awesome kind of thing. It almost makes up for the fact that like not every cigar is like completely extraordinary in that box.
Yeah.
So like after I bought those two boxes, I was kind of like, $800 or $900 is a lot of cigar budget, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what that was.
What was that?
I don't know.
It sounded like a gong.
It did. Like,
Like a Chinese gong.
I'm done. That's it. The
That's
gong's
it.
coming out. The
You
hook's
got
coming out. It's like the
got
gong
played
show.
off. You
Yeah.
got played off of the gong show.
But
Legends of the Hidden Temple next.
dude, don't get me going on vintage kung fu movies.
Oh, come on.
I have 400 in my collection.
Yeah, I won't get you going then. That's more
Okay.
than I know.
Back to Fuente. So, yeah. So some of the ones I smoke are extraordinary. Other ones are just okay. I kind of stopped buying those because what I was getting at was $800 or $900 buys a lot of other cigars other than that one box. Although I have to say, the day that I smoke my last CF Opus X coffin cigar, I'm going to be like, oh, okay, let me go find where I can buy the oldest one that I can buy at the
You'll do it all
time
over again.
and start again and start fresh. Although some of the Fuentes come out with a lot of smaller boxes. In fact, I just bought a couple from some private collectors, and I kind of want to see what those are going to do with a ton of age.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is I was telling Will, and Will is supposed to be up here for this episode, but he come back in the next month or two, and I still want to do the Opus X BBMF.
Yeah, I do too.
I
Yeah.
would love to smoke that.
So I
we
have
were talking
some,
about
yeah,
that. You
I
said
have
you
some
had
that
a
are
few.
older, but now I've purchased some that are newer that I can just throw in the back of the humidor and let them sit, and now I can smoke the older ones because I don't want them to age too much longer than they've been aging. I want to smoke them.
talking about that smoking.
Your microphone went out again. That was weird. You get the gong.
Gong.
You're
Can I sit
done.
down? Do I have
They
to
were
leave?
gonging you, not me.
They were gong.
Now you're gone. They took out the hook, and you're gone. Okay. Anything else on vintage? I think we spent some good time on that.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot of cigar. I'll just say one more thing. Paul, we were just talking about those a few weeks ago. The Destiny al Siglo.
Yes.
Those are cigars that you're gonna want a vintage.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
I mean, so there's stuff out there as well that you could make more vintage. Put more things away as you go along, so to speak.
Excellent. With that, we're going to take a short break, come back and talk about our Stogies of the week, so stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.